Hi guys, and welcome to Magic. My name is Thomas Hansen and I'm one of the magicians over at aista.com, and in this particular video I'm going to be demonstrating the authentication and the authorization features of Magic and Hyperlambda. Now the easiest way to demonstrate that is actually to use the Magic dashboard and make sure you're logged out. If you're already logged in, you can log out with by clicking this button in the top right corner here to log out. I'm already logged out, so let me show you what I'm about to show you. Now click F12 to open up the Google Chrome developers tool and make sure you choose the network tab here and that you don't have any filters applied. Then click the login button and log in as usual. At which point you will see you have one invocation towards an authenticate HTTP endpoint here, which is basically passing in my username and my password here. Now, if we have a look at its payload, its response object, then this is actually what is commonly referred to as a JWT token or a JSON Web Token. Now a JSON Web Token is basically just 3 JSON payloads separated by a dot, and then each of these payloads, JSON payloads, are actually base 64 encoded. And in fact already at this point we can actually inspect these tokens because they are transparent in nature, implying we can copy this token, and let me just hide Google Chrome's inspect tools, and then you can go to jwt.io. However, I want to emphasize, don't paste production JWT tokens into these websites. This is just a local host developer machine, so I don't really care, right? So now if I replace this, if you carefully watch these 2 segments to the right here, as I paste in my token, you will see that it changed. And now my name is root, being username. I belong to one role, which is root. If I had belonged to multiple roles, this part of the JSON object would be an array of strings with every single role I belong to. Then you will see it has an EXP, Unix timestamp expiration date, which by default is configured in Magic to be 120 minutes. And if you go back to your Magic dashboard and you take a look at your configuration file here, you can see that you can actually change it as you see fit. You can reduce it to 5 minutes or 10,000 minutes if you want to. And then you will see it's using HS256, which is basically SHA-256 HMAC hashing, and its type is JWT. Now, the basic idea of the JWT token is that at the bottom here it actually contains a signature, which is cryptographically created according to my specific token by appending the secret, which is found in the auth section here, which you provide as you actually set up Magic originally. And of course, if I change this, all my JWT tokens will instantly become invalidated, because then my Magic backend cannot reproduce the same hash given the same payload, right? So anyways, those are the semantics of the internals of the Hyperlambda authentication and authorization system. I encourage you to search for JWT and read up on them if you want to have more detailed information about this particular subject. Realize also that there's a link in the description of this YouTube video to an accompanied article where I explain some of these concepts slightly more in details than I do here in this particular YouTube video. So then let's move on to this guy. You see, Magic and Hyperlambda is actually a complete authentication and authorization server out of the box, implying if you use Magic, you have everything related to authentication and authorization for free. And you can, of course, use this from an iPhone or from an Android or from React frontend or whatever, the ways you see fit. And this gives you a user administration interface from where you can actually create and edit and administrate your users. If I have a new user, for instance, called Pooh, and then let me just give it a dummy password, bar, then I can associate this user with the role admin if I want to. I can associate it with one additional role. Let's associate him with the role of moderator. Then I can, if I want to change its password. I can impersonate the user, which is a very cool feature. You see now on my clipboard is actually a URL, which allows me to open a Google Chrome incognito window and paste in that URL. And as you can see, the URL is very, very long. Why? Because it actually contains a JWT token. It's a query parameter. If I click carriage return now, boom, I'm actually authenticated as the full user belonging to the roles of admin and moderators, as you can see here in the top right corner. So this allows me to create an impersonation token, which I can give to others wanting to, for instance, help me out or give me support for my particular magic instance. I can also imprison users. Let's say I have a user and I don't want that user to be allowed to access the website for 1 week. Okay, boom. Now 7 days from now the user will be granted access again, but currently from this point and onwards for 7 days the user has no longer access to actually log in to the magic dashboard, and I now explicitly release the user. I can delete the user and I can of course create new roles. Let's say I have a system that's called Foo, right, is the name of my system. Then I have a role in that system called administrator. This is the role that users whom are allowed to administrate the Foo module belongs to. And I've now created a new role. And of course I can instantly, associate users with that role. If I now choose here, add to role, you will see I have the Foo admin or administrator or whatever. And of course I can delete roles too. Let me delete these 2 roles and let me delete this user too. Now, so which HTTP endpoints are involved in the authentication and authorization parts of Magic? Well, that's actually fairly easy to figure out if you go to the endpoints menu item here and you make sure you show your system endpoints, important, and then you filter for system/auth. You will see all HTTP endpoints that are related to authentication and authorization. Here is the endpoint that is actually invoked as the user is authenticated towards the Magic backend, and it returns the JWT token we took a look at initially in this video tutorial. And as you can see, I can invoke it as a normal endpoint and it's still returning a JWT token for me, which is perfectly valid and authenticates me and authorizes me as the root user belonging to the root role. Now, of course, this endpoint I can easily use from an iPhone front-end client or an Android client or anything I want to. Then in addition, if we take a look at localhost :5555 here in a different window and we have a look at the config parts of Magic here, you will see that actually there's a valid minutes section here declaring 120. These are minutes implying 2 hours. And that's basically how long I am authenticated with a single JWT token. Because if I invoke the authentication parts here and I get a token, then this token is actually only valid for 120 minutes. However, if I invoke with this token as my authorization bearer token in the HTTP headers collections towards my Magic server, and I invoke this thing here called refresh ticket, then I will actually get a new ticket returned, which can replace my ticket and in such a regard keep me logged in for as long as it's able to re-invoke the backend and refresh the tickets, less than 2 hours in like an infinite loop. And of course that's how the Magic dashboard actually works, because it just constantly every 2 hours it just gets a new token and replaces the existing token. Here's an interesting little bugger. If I open up Magic in an incognito window again, and then I'm obviously not authenticated and authorized. However, there are 4 icons here which are publicly available for even people who aren't authenticated. There's a register link here. Now, in order to actually use this, I need to configure my SFTP server, which I haven't done. Why? Because when I type an email address here, foo@bar.com, and I choose password, foo, and I repeat that password, when I click the submit button now, the system assumes that the SMTP settings are configured because it will actually automatically trigger an email allowing me to confirm and verify my email address, at which point a new user would be created in the system with the name of foo@bar.com, and this user would belong to the unconfirmed user role. Then when the user confirms his email, this role association is deleted and is added to the guest role, which is the least capable role that exists in Magic and Hyperlambda. So anyways, that was it for today. Yet again, there's a link in the description of this YouTube video leading to an article where you can read more details about the authentication and authorization and implementation details of Magic and Hyperlambda. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.